A reading from the book of Acts, chapter 24, out of the Legacy Standard Bible. Now after 5 days the high priest Ananias came down with some elders, with an attorney named Tertullus. And they brought charges to the governor against Paul, and after Paul had been summoned, Tertullus began to accuse him, saying, "As we have attained much peace through you, and because by your provision reforms are being carried out for this nation, we welcome this in every way and everywhere, most excellent Felix, with all thankfulness. But that I may not weary you any further, I plead with you, by your forbearance, to hear us briefly. For we have found this man a real pest, and a fellow who stirs up dissension among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. And he even tried to desecrate the temple, and then we arrested him. We wanted to judge him according to our own law, but Lysias, the commander, came along and with much violence took him out of our hands, ordering his accusers to come before you. By examining him yourself concerning all these matters, you will be able to ascertain the things of which we accuse him." And the Jews also joined in the attack, asserting that these things were so. And when the governor had nodded for him to speak, Paul answered, "Knowing that for many years you have been a judge to this nation, I cheerfully make my defense, since you are able to ascertain the fact that no more than 12 days ago I went up to Jerusalem to worship, and neither in the temple nor in the synagogues nor across the city did they find me carrying on discussion with anyone or causing a riot. Nor are they able to prove to you of what they are now accusing me. And this I confess to you, that according to the way which they call a sect, I do serve the God of our fathers, believing everything that is that is in accordance with the law, and that is written by the prophets, having a hope in God, for which these men are waiting, that there shall certainly be a resurrection of both the righteous and the unrighteous. In view of this, I also do my best to maintain always a conscience without fault, both before God and before men. Now after several years I came to bring alms to my nation and offerings, in which they found me, having been purified in the temple, without any crowd or uproar. But there were some Jews from Asia, who ought to have been present before you, and to make accusation, if they should have anything against me. Or else let these men themselves tell what wrongdoing they found when I stood before the Sanhedrin, other than for this one statement which I shout out while standing among them. For the resurrection of the dead I am on trial before you today." But Felix, having a more accurate knowledge about the way, put them off, saying, "When Lysias, the commander, comes down, I will decide your case." Then he gave orders to the centurion for him to be kept in custody, and yet have some rest, and not to prevent any of his friends from ministering to him. But some days later, Felix arrived with Drusilla, his wife, who was a Jewess, and summoned Paul and heard him speak about faith in Christ Jesus. But as he was discussing righteousness, self-control, and the judgment to come, Felix became frightened and answered, "Go away for the present, and when I find time I will call for you." At the same time, he was also hoping that money would be given him by Paul. Therefore he also used to summon for him quite often and converse with him. But after 2 years had passed, Felix was succeeded by Porcius Festus, and wishing to do the Jews a favor, Felix left Paul in prison. A reading of Acts chapter 24 out of the Legacy Standard Bible.